there's this pervasive narrative we all kind of grow up with.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
It is. It's in our cartoons, our movies, even those corporate training manuals. It's the idea that if you do the right thing...
If you play by the rules.
Yeah. If you play by the rules, speak the truth, act with integrity, the universe is supposed to reward you. You get the promotion, the applause, the gold star.
The karma argument, basically. Good inputs equal good outputs. It's a lovely thought, isn't it?
It is, and we desperately want it to be true. But reality hits. You call out a safety violation at work, and suddenly you're the troublemaker who's slowing down production.
Right, or you defend a colleague, and suddenly you're the new target.
Exactly. Instead of a reward, you get punished.
And it's incredibly disorienting. It makes you question the whole system. You're left thinking, wait, I followed the instructions. Why is the machine eating my hand?
Why is the machine eating my hand? That is the perfect way to put it. And that feeling is exactly what we're exploring today.
We're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating, and I have to say, a somewhat gritty source.
Okay. Tell us about it.
It's a transcript from a devotional given back on January 28th, 2026 by Pastor Huzi King.
Okay.
And he's speaking from Beipu Church, and he's analyzing a very old text, James chapter 5, verses 10 through 12. But what really jumped out at me is that he's not using it to just say, be nice.
No.
Not at all. He's using it to talk about toxic office politics, slander, and the very real pain that comes with trying to lead with integrity.
The theme is titled, Prophets Also Have a Share, which, I'll be honest, sounds a little cryptic at first.
It does, but the share he's talking about isn't a share of the profits, it's not the glory.
It's the share of the suffering.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive, to unpack this really counterintuitive idea that facing backlash isn't a sign that you failed. It might actually be proof you're doing your job right.
We're going to try and pull out some practical wisdom from this on, how to survive that backlash without getting bitter. And I have to say, I'm kind of excited because this source doesn't sugarcoat anything.
No, it doesn't.
When I saw we were looking at a devotional, I expected, gentle platitudes. Instead, we're talking about prophets being thrown into wells, massive droughts, blackmail letters. It's high drama.
It is high drama, but it serves a very practical purpose. It's all about reframing our expectations. Because if we expect integrity to be a path to comfort, we're going to quit the moment things get hard.
That makes sense.
Pastor Hugh is basically arguing that integrity isn't a path to ease, it's a path to endurance.
Okay, so let's jump into that first big idea then, this paradox of the prophet. The source text in James tells people to look at the prophets.
Right, who spoke in the name of the Lord.
But not as an example of how to get rich or famous.
No, as an example of suffering and patience. And that's the first big reality check right there. Well, in our modern world, we tend to mix up blessing with ease. If things are going well, we think, oh, I'm on the right track. If things are hard, we assume we messed up somewhere.
Yeah, it's natural.
But this source just flips that logic completely on its head. It says, look at the people who did it perfectly, the heavy hitters, and see what happened to them.
And the first case study he brings up is Elijah. Now, Elijah is, he's a fascinating character. Whether you're religious or not, he's kind of the ultimate whistleblower.
He really is. He's living under this corrupt tyrant, King Ahab. And Elijah doesn't just, post an angry comment online.
Wow.
He walks right into the palace and speaks truth to power. Directly.
And the specific detail the source focuses on is the drought.
Yeah.
Elijah declares no rain for 3.5 years. That's a massive power move.
It is. But here's the insight from the transcript that I had never really considered. When you call down a drought on the land...
You live in the land.
You live in the land. Exactly. That is the cost of consistency. Pastor Hugh points out this great irony. Elijah wasn't watching the famine from a luxury suite somewhere else.
No, he was right in it. He had to deal with the heat, the thirst, the scarcity, just like everyone else.
It completely shatters that idea of a protective bubble around the truth teller, that if you're on the right side, you should be immune to the collateral damage.
Yeah, but he's out there scraping by, waiting for birds to bring him food. He's suffering.
But here's the crucial distinction the source makes. Yes, he suffered in the drought, but he was preserved through it.
Oh.
He wasn't immune, but he was sustained. The hardship was part of the job description, not a sign he was fired. And he does eventually triumph, in that big showdown on Mount Carmel.
But he had to survive the 3 years of thirst first.
He did.
Okay, so Elijah gets thirsty. That's one level. But then we get to Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And, well, If Elijah is the isolated whistleblower, Jeremiah is the patriot who gets branded a traitor.
Jeremiah's story is just a nightmare. He's often called the weeping prophet for a reason. He's warning his own people that the city is going to fall if they don't change course.
And the reaction isn't, "Oh, thanks for the heads up, Jeremiah."
No, they see him as demoralizing the troops. The source says he gets arrested and thrown into a cistern.
We need to be clear about what a cistern is. This isn't a jail cell.
Not at all. It's an underground water reservoir, but this one was dry, so it's just deep, thick mud. They lower him in, and he just sinks into the mire. They left him there to die.
And this is all happening during a terrifying siege. People are starving, there's panic everywhere, and the leadership decides their biggest problem isn't the enemy army.
It's the guy telling them the truth.
Wow.
It just shows how dangerous it is to be the voice of reason when an organization is in panic mode. People don't want to hear that they're the problem, they want to kill the messenger.
Literally, in his case.
Literally.
But again, the pattern holds. The source makes a point of saying that even down there, stuck in the mud, in the dark, he didn't die.
Right. He was rescued. An official intervenes and pulls him out. And this leads to this theological nugget that Pastor Hushi shares. It's a maxim that I think works whether you're spiritual or not.
What is it?
He says, God's will never lead you to a place where God's grace cannot keep you.
That's a powerful idea.
Yeah.
It suggests the situation might be unbearable, but it's never unsurvivable.
Exactly. The source mentions others, like Ezekiel and Daniel, who went through their own trials. The big takeaway is that hardship isn't a bug in the system. For a truth teller, hardship is the feature. It's the environment where your loyalty gets proven.
So if we bring this into our world, I mean, most of us aren't getting thrown into wells.
Hopefully not.
But we are dealing with toxic office politics. We're dealing with that awful sinking feeling when you realize your own team has turned on you.
And that brings us perfectly to the second big part of the source, what he calls the insider threat. This is where he moves from ancient history to modern psychology.
This part was uncomfortable to read, honestly, because you always think the bad guys are the competition, the other company.
But the source says, nope, look closer to home. It explicitly says that suffering for the truth often comes from insiders.
In a church, that's other believers. In an office, it's your own department, the people you eat lunch with.
Exactly.
And that betrayal just hits so much harder, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a gut punch because it shatters trust. But the source digs into why it happens, and it really boils down to a conflict of interest.
How so?
People love the idea of a truth teller. We all cheer for the hero in the movie who exposes corruption. But in real life, when that truth-telling threatens someone's specific power, their status, their money, the claws come out.
It's just self-preservation.
It is. The source lists the big triggers for this backlash. It's almost always when a leader exposes financial corruption, sexual immorality, or power grabbing.
And when you shine a light on those things, people don't say, "Oh, thank you for showing me my error."
No, they attack the person holding the flashlight. And the methods of attack he lists are, well, they're surprisingly modern.
Right. He mentions violence for the ancient world, but for today, he lists slander, gossip, and my favorite phrase from the whole text, creating a wind.
Creating a wind. It's such a perfect description, isn't it? It's not just telling one lie. It's orchestrating an atmosphere where everyone just somehow knows you're the problem.
It's gaslighting on a group scale. And he also mentions anonymous attacks, black letters, anonymous emails, people hiding because they can't win the argument face-to-face.
Which just speaks to the cowardice involved. And Pastor Hugh connects all of this to a broken human nature. He talks about people having these specific sins. They're trying to hide money, affairs, abuse of power, and they live with this illusion.
The phrase he used was "everyone doesn't know."
Yes, everyone doesn't know. It's that false sense of security. As long as it's a secret, I'm safe. But the truth teller threatens that safety just by existing.
And that provokes this vicious reaction. He describes rough language, spreading rumors, anything to destroy the credibility of the critic before the real truth gets out.
It's a classic move. If I can paint you as crazy or malicious, then nobody will listen when you point out I have my hand in the cookie jar.
This feels like the right moment to pivot to the solution. Because if the workplace is full of these traps, how do you navigate it?
Yeah.
The pastor has 35 years of experience. He must have seen a thing or two.
He has. And he boils down the danger zones, both in ourselves and in others, to what he calls the big three. It's a classic triad, but he frames it as a litmus test for long-term survival in leadership.
Let me guess. Money, sex, and power.
You got it. He calls them gold for money, relationships for sexual purity, and glory for power and fame.
It really is the unholy trinity of scandals, isn't it? Every time a leader falls as a CEO, a politician, a pastor, it's always one of those three.
Almost always. And Pastor Hu says that to survive, you need constant vigilance over these areas. He calls it a self-audit.
You have to keep asking yourself, are my finances clean? Are my boundaries clear? Am I chasing glory or serving a purpose?
Right. And the warning is pretty stark. He says people think they can hide these things, they think they're being slick, but eventually, boom.
It explodes.
It explodes. The source says it leads to ruin before God and people. And I think for most professionals, it's the before people part that's terrifying. You lose your credibility.
And that is so hard to get back. So let's bring this to the listeners 9 to 5. You're at work, you're trying to keep your nose clean, but you see a colleague who is all about status and money over ethics.
The source is basically warning you. Watch out for that person. Watch out for the one obsessed with glory. The titles, the recognition, they're often the ones who will use that rough language or start a win to clear their path to the top.
Because if someone values their position more than their integrity, they will eventually see your integrity as a threat. So what do we do? Let's say the wind is blowing against you. You're the target of the rumors, the black letters. Pastor Hu gives a strategy, right? And step 1 is the audit.
Yes, and this is the hardest step. It requires so much humility. The source says, examine yourself first.
Before you get defensive.
Before anything, is the accusation true? Even if it's wrapped in malice, is there a tiny grain of truth in it? If there is, you have to own it and fix it. You can't fight truth with defensiveness.
That takes guts. But okay, let's say you do the audit and it's just a lie. It's pure malice. What's step 2?
Step 2 is the ignore button. Do not get entangled in it.
Don't wrestle with the pig.
Right. The source quotes a proverb. Rumors stop at the wise.
I love that line. It's like, wisdom acts as a firewall.
It does. You don't become a conduit, you don't pass it on, and you don't let it consume you. And the source leans on this idea of a higher court. This belief that you don't always have to be your own defense attorney.
Trusting that truth will out in the end.
Exactly. And that those who love gossip and power plays will eventually pay the price. It's a long game strategy. And to hammer this home, he brings up the donkey analogy.
The classic Aesop's fable. The man, the boy, and the donkey.
That's the one. If the man rides, he's selfish. If the boy rides, he's disrespectful. If they both ride, they're cruel to the animal.
And if they carry the donkey, they're just idiots.
Right. The lesson being, you literally cannot please everyone. It is an impossibility.
So don't even try.
Don't even try. And the source uses this to warn against being slick or a people pleaser. Pastor Hu makes this great point that the people who try to be the most charming, the most flexible, they're often the most fake.
That is so true. We've all met that person. They're everyone's best friend, but you never really know where they stand on anything.
So the source says do the opposite. Instead of being slick, be authentic. Use wisdom, sincerity, and love. It argues that showing genuine passion and treating people with real sincerity is the only way to gain true respect.
You might lose the people who just want you to be a chameleon.
You will, but you'll gain the people who respect backbone. It's quality over quantity in your relationships. Sincerity might not make you popular with the glory crowd, but it builds real trust.
And in a crisis, like a drought or a siege, trust is the only currency that actually matters.
And that, I think, brings it all back to the very beginning. Why did Elijah survive? Why did Jeremiah survive? Because their foundation was real. It wasn't built on public opinion. It was built on something much deeper.
So we've gone from Elijah declaring a drought all the way to dodging toxic gossip in the break room.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. But I think that central thread is the cost of consistency. Standing firm in your truth. It costs you something. It might cost you comfort, popularity, maybe even a promotion.
But the flip side is you get to keep your soul. You keep your integrity. And according to the source, you are kept even when it's tough. You aren't abandoned in the well.
That's the core message. The share the prophets have is suffering, yes, but it's also preservation.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a little bit of homework. We mentioned that self-audit earlier.
Yeah, I'd really encourage every listener to just take a quiet moment and look at the big three in their own life. Money, relationships, power. Are there any cracks in the foundation? Anything you're hoping everyone doesn't know?
Because dealing with it now, on your own terms, is so much better than having it exposed later.
Infinitely better. And try to stop worrying about the noise. If you're doing the right thing, the rumors will stop at the wise. Let the critics talk. You have work to do.
And here's a final maybe provocative thought for you to chew on. We talked so much about suffering and resistance today. If you look at your life or your career and you aren't facing any resistance, if everyone loves you and you never have any conflict,
Uh-oh. I think I know where you're going with this.
you have to ask yourself, is that because I'm just lucky? Or is it because I haven't stood up for anything difficult yet?
Oh, that is a heavy question to end on.
Are you peaceful because you're blessed? Or are you peaceful because you're compliant? Something to think about as you go about your day.
Indeed.
We hope you find some peace and joy in your workday, whatever it brings. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Bye-bye.